Welcome to Not Your Ordinary Parts, a podcast where we talk about hard things associated with the human experience with the goal of increasing awareness, growth, and healing. You may hear information from professionally licensed therapists, life coaches, healers, doctors, etc. This information is not medical advice or therapy and is not meant to replace actual therapy or instructions given by a doctor or personal therapist. I'm your host, Jalan Johnson. My guest today is Dr. Leticia Farias. Dr. Farias is a pioneering force in the field of holistic health, a healer who merges cutting-edge science with ancient wisdom, and whose work invites us to listen more deeply to the stories our bodies have been trying to tell. With a doctorate in Naturopathic Medicine and a PhD in Integrative Health, Dr. Farias has spent over 2 decades guiding people back to health, not by masking symptoms, but by addressing the root causes of suffering and disconnection. At the heart of her practice is a sacred question: what is the body trying to say? And she believes true healing begins not when something comes out, but when something is finally allowed in. Through modalities like BioScan technology, ortho-molecular nutrition, auriculotherapy, cranial therapy, and stress pattern analysis, she helps her clients decode the body's signals, uncovering the hidden connections between emotional dysregulation, trauma, immune dysfunction, inflammation, and exhaustion. Whether someone is navigating autoimmune illness, adrenal fatigue, chronic anxiety, or unexplained burnout, her approach gently restores the body's natural rhythm, guiding people out of survival and into sustainable well-being. She is one of the rare few who truly bridge the science of cellular health and the soul of trauma healing, and her work honors both physiology and story, empowering individuals to reconnect with the wisdom of their own bodies, their own past, and their own power. Her presence is both clinical and deeply intuitive, and her mission is simple yet profound: to walk beside you as you remember who you are beneath the symptoms. She listens when the body speaks, and in so doing, she reminds us that healing is never about fixing what's broken. It's about remembering what's been buried, welcoming what's been exiled, and restoring balance from the inside out. So, Dr. Farias, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jalan. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I feel like I chopped your name up a little bit, so can you pronounce it for me again, please?
Absolutely. Leticia Farias.
There we go. Also, I gave a bit of an introduction. And so that the audience can get to know you a little bit better, would you mind giving us a little bit of background about yourself and how you got to who and where you are today, please?
Absolutely. I was in the medical school, and then as a personal experience, that I will go over later on, I decided to switch over to the real medicine, to the natural medicine, which is one of the biggest approaches, since 5,000 years ago. And that's how I get here. And, the satisfaction to see my patients to heal is one of the biggest things for me.
How long have you been practicing now?
I've been practicing for quite a few years now with this field, because I also have it was my fault not to tell you, but I also have a PhD in quantum physics, which is, one of the biggest things out there to healing now, because we're using a lot. We all are energy. And that's one of the things, that I'm practicing in my office with all my patients, even though sometimes I don't realize it.
That's huge. So you said something that struck a chord with me. You said the real medicine. What do you mean by that?
This is the real medicine because we look deeply to the root of the problem, not just to band-aid the problem, not just the symptom. We look for everything. We all are energy. And then we have to listen to our bodies when they talk. And symptoms are just the conversation that your body is just trying to express all the time.
I love that. All right, question for you.
Sure.
When someone comes to you emotionally and physically depleted, feeling unseen by doctors and or dismissed by conventional medical systems, which I think is a lot of people, where do you begin? Like, what does that look like? How do you start?
I started by seeing then, not the diagnosis, because we're not the diagnosis. We are just, the body is speaking, and then we have to hear. I started by listening to them. To listen to the symptoms, that they've been having for a long time and haven't heard out there.
So, for instance, let's say someone comes to you and they may feel like, I've seen every doctor, I've tried everything. Somebody told me about you, and I'm only here because I told them I would come. Like, do you get excited when you hear things like that?
I get very excited. I get very happy, because it's a challenge for me now to see, to look deeper. And one of the biggest problems, that we have now is the inflammation of the nervous system. Now, remember that the nervous system is the motor for our body.
Mm.
And then I started to just, dismissing every single thing out there. We just going to start from scratch. We're just going to start and start to look for all the symptoms and just look deeply on the patients.
Thanks. Okay, so in your practice, what's one case of transformation that deeply moved you, and not just medically, but also emotionally, if you don't mind sharing?
Not at all. I mean, we're going to start to be very personal in here because the experience that I have is with my own daughter. My
Mm.
daughter is now 35, and she's been suffering from lupus for almost over 30 years. And I, unfortunately, got experience every single doctor out there, every single hospital, and there was no solution. There was no answer. We went through a lot to the point that she was sent to hospice. And I refused to do it because as a mother, I wanted to try everything possible to get her healed. And unfortunately, she went, one of the side effects of the medication, she went to seizure for all day long and she was in coma for 12 days. When she wake up, she shared the information that she can hear me, but she can't move or say anything. And she started to connect everything, her energy, her willingness to live. And that's when the real healing started. She was also saying, that she was never going to be able to bear a child, consequences of all the medication that she was taking for such a long time, and the severity of her illness. But we are so happy, and I'm so happy to share, that she has 3 beautiful, amazing children, and then
Mhm.
she is living her fullness right now. That tells us, how much you can just explore the power of healing from your body. And that was one of the biggest experiences in my life, that changed me to switch to this type of medicine.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to dig a little bit deeper into that because you said she's 35 now
Yes,
and that she's had lupus for 30 years. So when
over
she was
30 years.
5,
Yes.
wow. And so at what point was she given the hospice diagnosis? How old was she?
She was around 13 years old.
Mhm.
One of the consequences of one of the medications out there was that her jaw melt, so she was not able to eat. So we can say that she was starving. Plus all the pain that she was experiencing. And lupus is it's hard to diagnose, and 8,000 patients will die, through the year that they get diagnosed. It mimics with other things. And in the meantime, there is not right medication to prevent the illness to keep growing. And there was no hope. She was most of the time she was in coma. Most of the time she was losing a lot of weight. There was no hair. She lost all her hair. It was critical. It was absolutely critical. And then she has to be done a surgery so they can open the jaw and replace it with a rib. The surgery was over 20 hours of surgery. And after that, they say, that instead of to be recouped, she was just getting worse and worse.
That's a lot on a 13-year-old. And that's a lot on you as her mother. What was your journey like emotionally, mentally, physically, having to care for her through all of this? And then also for you to decline hospice, that was I don't know if I want to call it a gamble, but it shows that you weren't willing to just succumb to the traditional wisdom of modern medicine.
Probably, I'm going to be having a lot of moms identifying with me and the suffering to see your child, not getting better at the hospital. And to hear that, and instead of to say, she's going to get better, she's not going to make it through the night.
Mm.
It was very painful. It was a feeling that I will never want to feel again. And I feel sad for all the moms that they have to go through the same thing that I was. But just, to fight as a mom, as a mother. I mean, at that moment, I was just being her mother. It was a lot for her. It was a lot for the whole family. She has a younger brother. My son is now 27. And at the time that I was apart from him, because I was spend most of the time at the hospital, I was also suffering a lot. I mean, I was only 100 pounds, I guess. So we
Man.
both were suffering a lot. But to see, the kind of human that she is now, the kind of mother that she is now, and she sees life, to the most beautiful thing for her is not a raining day. For her is a beautiful day to have a cup of chocolate or just to play it
Mhm.
inside with the kids. She sees life differently, and I learn a lot from her every single day to see
I'm
the kind of,
sure.
the human, that she is. She's a very strong person and one of the most wonderful mothers ever. So I always tell her, that God has leave her in this earth with a purpose.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Thing.
At what point did your, I guess, determination shift? Because I can't imagine what it's like to be a mom and to hear doctors tell you that your 13-year-old daughter is not going to make it through the night. What was it that you knew that allowed you to make the choices that you made that I guess sustained you in those decisions?
Again, just being a mom, and have the feeling that this can be changed. There is more than just the medicine out there. That is, I read a book, when she was sick, I read a book about a mom also, her son was suffering from lupus. And then she always was just talking about, the energy and the feeling and the faith that she was having to just cross this road of pain that they
Mm.
were, because we both were suffering. It's not only my daughter, it was me and the whole family.
Sure. Sure. Okay, so let's talk about holistic medicine. And first of all, what is it? And have you always been interested in it? Or was there a moment that I guess kind of shifted things for you? And maybe it's this moment with your daughter. So since we've already talked about that, let's jump straight into what holistic medicine is.
Well, I studied, I was at the med school, and then to see that there was no empathy for other patients, that's what it switched me to get into this type of medicine. Are we going to get in trouble for this? For saying
No.
this?
No, 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 not at all.
I can get in trouble. I don't want you to get in trouble. Holistic medicine, is an approach to healing the whole person, not just the symptoms.
Mm.
So when somebody comes, I don't rush my patient out. I wanted to know everything about my patient. Let me give you an example. A short example is if a patient comes and tell me that he hasn't been able to sleep in a long time, I'm not going to give him something just to kill that it is, that he's not able to sleep, that he suffers from insomnia. I will ask everything. How is the family? How is work? To have an empathy for that person, to look at the whole person. And that's what, holistic medicine is. We look the whole person, not
Mm.
just the physical, but also the mental.
I mean, if you really think about it, the whole person or the whole human, we're so diverse. I mean, we have so many different systems that make up who we are as a whole. So to say, you know, okay, you're not sleeping and it's because of this, I think you could be doing a disservice to that person or to medicine in general.
Because that's, it's supposed to be medicine. Doctors, we're supposed to be listening to our patients. With the knowledge that we have, we can pinpoint, what the problem is. But the patient is the one who's come and tell me exactly what's happening. Because emotionally, they just can be destroyed and nobody's listening out there. And when the body is hurt, that's when, healing starts. Just
Mm.
by then comment and tell me, this is what happened and this is what what is not letting me sleep well at night. This is causing my insomnia. Right there is a relief for that patient. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that the day that they come and talk about it, and then they feel like somebody is listening to them, that day they can sleep well. I can assure you that.
Well, I mean, if you think about the way doctors' offices are set up now, like
Mhm.
I know just from my own personal experience, um, there's maybe 10 minutes per patient. You sit in the waiting room, you have an appointment, they overbook. There's 4 people scheduled for one time. You get in, you get out. And I don't think there's ever a point where someone may truly feel heard. And if telling your story is part of healing, there's so much missing in the way the modern system is now.
Unfortunately, it is out there. And it's not the doctors, it's the system that is broken.
Right.
And that's why we have a lot of mental health. Now, mental health will also lead you to the physical health. And like you said, and I mean, we're going to see the doctor, and the doctor is just seeing us for 5, 6 minutes, maybe, because they overbook, because the
Yeah.
system is working like that.
Yeah.
And they not listened. They don't have the time to listen. They just will prescribe what it is for insomnia. We're going back to insomnia just to take the same example.
Sure.
If you tell the doctor, I'm not able to sleep, let me give you a medication so you can sleep better. But that medication at some point is going to give you, side effects. That medication at some point is not going to work anymore because the body gets so used to it.
Yeah.
And now we have another problem. We just add in one problem to another problem.
Hmm. I remember as being part of the emergency medical healthcare system as a paramedic. We would, go see a patient who called 911, and I would see 20 bottles on their nightstand. And I'm thinking to myself, that was just a domino effect from the first one. Because if they saw the doctor for 10 minutes, and let's say they had insomnia and they gave them a medication for insomnia, and that medication now has side effects, then those side effects need to be treated. And so it seems like a never ending road of medications that someone is going to be on. And meanwhile, the root cause is never addressed because they're just treating the symptoms.
And it's just accumulating, the body gets silenced. Why? Because the rush of life. So it's like, I give you this medication to insomnia, but now you just have to silence whatever was causing that insomnia. And the
Yeah.
body's just going to feel it and feel it every single time with more symptoms.
Mm-mm-mm. Oh man, it's the system, like you said.
It's the system, unfortunately.
All right, I want to go back a little bit. We talked about your daughter, but I want to talk about you and get a little bit more insight on your journey. And I want to ask you if you could go back in time and meet the younger version of yourself, long before you had the titles and the degrees. Who was she? What was her family system like? And what was her body carrying that you know now?
I believe, Yolanda, we all carry traumas from our lives. I mean, either way, we do. And if I can go back, in time before all this, the titles and everything else, and that now is with me, I will say, that I wanted to meet the young person as also as someone who wants to help others.
Mhm.
To not to suffer from so many traumas. I see many of my patients that come with trauma, and they believe, that trauma is just causing for them to be unhappy or all the symptoms that they experience. And I would like to meet someone, who has been healing for a long time, because that's the need that we have in these times, a real healer.
Mhm. Do you think that if the younger version of you could sit across from you in your office right now, she would see who she ultimately wanted to be?
To be honest with you, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my dream, to be a lawyer. But then, when me and my daughter suffered what we been through, it was a call. It was a call to heal and to help others. Um, seeing my daughter getting better and seeing the person, the beautiful person that she is right now. And I'm never going to stop saying, the beautiful person, she's so full of life and the kind of mother that she is. At one point I told her, if I can do things all over, I will be the same kind of mother that you are right now. And to see all the suffering that she's been through, it gives me that guidance to become who I am right now and the kind of help that I wanted to give to all my patients. To me, every single time that a patient sits in my office and comes with many health problems, I will see part of my daughter on those patients. And that's what I
Wow.
established a good relationship with them.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that tribulation you went through built a solid foundation for you to carry that forward into everyone you see now. So almost everyone is benefiting from what you and your daughter made it through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I have to be grateful to her, for everything, who I
Yeah.
am right now.
For sure. Okay, so I want to know if there were any early messages that you received growing up that you had to unlearn in order to successfully become the doctor that you are now and to help people in the way that you do.
Yes. One of the biggest things was to just be calm and to not to rush everything. Because when you're running, you can fall at any time. So the things, that I learned through all this time was just to slow down. And if I fell behind, it's okay. That's the calm that I'm going to give to my body. That's the calm that I'm going to give to my soul. And if it's something that I have to unlearn, is to be also sensitive, because we sometimes think the weakness is not being sensitive.
So let me ask you this. Was the environment that you grew up in also, I guess, one to where you could learn to be calm, or was it the opposite of that?
To learn to be calm.
Oh, okay.
Learn to be calm. I grew up in the third world country, and life is not easy on those places.
Yeah.
And having a big family, it was not easy. And
Sure.
I'm not ashamed to say that I also come in from a broken family.
I mean, telling your story, it's yours, so you have to own it. And I think being ashamed of it is something that can keep us from getting to be that whole person like you described.
Trauma is not something, sometimes that we have to be ashamed of it, because it's something that we learn, we leave it, and it becomes a person who we are right now. My mother is a wonderful person. My brothers are amazing. It's the side of the father that it was, a completely broke my family. But I learned so many things, to have an empathy for other women who suffering abuse, trauma, and it makes me the person that who I am right now. Not only my daughter's experience, but the childhood that I had. And now I can listen with more empathy to all my patients, the suffering. I can relate to them.
I want to ask you a question about the mother and the doctor who you are now, because you have such, it seems like, a wonderful relationship with your daughter. How does your mom see you now, as successful as you are? Does she recognize the work that you've done, or are you still the little girl who you've always been to her?
That we're always going to be the little girl, for our parents, but she's also my patient. So that tells us, how much she trusts me. And then when she goes to see the doctor, because she has to go and see the doctor, holistic medicine is not a competition with, the type of medicine that we practice. Holistic medicine is just a complement. And that's the way that we have to see it. So she goes and see, her doctors, and then she will always call me right after her appointment and ask me every question.
Nice. I think it must be really rewarding to have both sides, to have helped your daughter through one of the darkest times and now she's thriving. And then also to have your mom be your patient and to trust you.
That's a challenge, to have your mom as a patient, because, part of her, I am her doctor, but I'm also her daughter.
Yeah.
So, but we're trying to balance that.
Yeah. I can see that as being, you tell her what she needs. And at the same time, she's like, don't tell me what to do because, I'm the parent.
Yes, sometimes we can say that.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that. You often speak about the body as a messenger and that symptoms aren't enemies, but communication. Can you unpack that and explain how people can begin to listen and understand what their bodies are saying?
I realize, the symptoms aren't the problem. They are just a communication. So every time that we have something, a symptom is just telling us something is wrong. We have a
Mhm.
headache, something is wrong. It doesn't have to be something like major, but you could be dehydrated. You could just be worried. You could just be so stressed out, inflamed. And I try to break every single symptom that a patient is coming, and explore deeper on everything. And that we can get the real answer, that we can get the real healing. And the protocol, if the patient will tell me everything that they feeling, because I wanted to hear them, I wanted to be here to listen to them, the body will start to regulate, and healing will start.
I think it's so, I won't say different, but like it is different to think of a symptom as a message instead of something that you have to get rid of. Because normally, if you have a headache, you take Tylenol, the headache goes away, right? But then you don't get the message of what was wrong. So
Right.
now maybe the headache starts to compound. You get them more and more often. You have to take more and more Tylenol. And all you're doing is telling the body to be quiet when it's trying to tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, when we take, medicine and we're not doing the proper thing, we just silence the body. But at the moment, the body is going to stop and it's just going to scream. I mean, now it's not giving just a signal. Now it's just screaming for help.
And I think those screams could be diseases or autoimmunity or, chronic this or chronic that. Um, when someone's body starts to scream and they start dealing with chronic illness or persistent stress, what are some of the most common root causes that are often overlooked?
I like to remind the people, that the body is always communicating. The body will always communicate. Let me just give you an example. Cancer. And it's a very controversial topic out there. Cancer is nothing else that the body is screaming and something happened. It's a trauma. The cells will grow in the perfect harmony all the time. So when cancer is out there, it's because the cells stop growing and they just grow uncontrollable. So what tells you that the stress, it makes a lot of damage to your body. But we don't talk, the conventional medicine, we don't talk about cancer. We talk about cancer like it is one of the biggest killers. But it's the body is been silent for such a long time and trauma. And now the cells are just acting up out there. And that is
Mm.
why, cancer is one of the biggest markets out there.
I don't know that I've ever heard cancer referred to as a message from the body
It is.
because if cancer is a message, what is the body trying to say through cancer?
Cancer is the consequences of our silence.
Mm.
Let me give an example. If somebody out there has a thyroid cancer, and if you ask this story about that person is always being silent, not able to speak, maybe because when he was a child, was just silent by the adults not to speak. And everything that has been holding for years, it would just develop the cancer on the part that it was silent. Prostate cancer for males is the loss of the child. Breast cancer for females is the suffering of losing a child or a spouse. Every single cancer has been related with the silence of the body.
That's incredible. And to think about thyroid cancer as silencing, like if you lose your voice is in your throat, or that's where you speak from. And so the organ that's there, I guess, that would suffer from that would be the thyroid.
Yes.
Wow.
I heard a story one time, a patient was talking about traumas. And then she said when she was only around 7 years old, she went to church with her grandmother. And she was just talking, as at 7 years old, talking with her friend at church. And her grandmother hit her with the purse and tell her, like, silence, you are in church. And that caused her not to be able to speak when something was happening. That little trauma right there. But not with intention. The grandmother didn't do, with a bad intention. It was just, trying to silence because they were in church. But that caused her to be a person who will never speak up. That silenced her voice when she was only 7 years old. And at 35 years old, she developed thyroid cancer. And she admitted it. It was because every single time, that day, I think it caused me a big trauma that I never realized it until later age.
Wow.
I was silent. If I have a relationship and I didn't like anything, I will not speak. If something happens at work, I will never speak. I would just swallow everything and thinking it'll be over soon. And that was the consequence.
Wow. So let me ask you this, and using that example, how does the nervous system and our emotions come into play at that point? Because if that was a trauma, it was something the body remembered, and it could have affected her emotionally, and that body memory could have been something every time she wanted to speak up that her nervous system would say it's not safe to do. So how does that connection all come in and intertwine?
The nervous system is the motor of the body. If the nervous system is not working well, we're not able to sleep, we're not able to eat, nothing. We're not able to even think clearly. So the nervous system is the most important thing that we have to address every single time. We always maintain ourselves when the nervous system is inflamed. We always maintain, the fight or flight reaction in our bodies, and we always just on guard. We never get to relax. I have experience that I'm going to share with you. I used to have a patient, and she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. In our holistic medicine, we don't believe in fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is nothing else I'm not saying out there, people not suffering from fibromyalgia, but the root of the problem is an unheard stress, an unheard trauma. Why? Because the whole body is just always tense. And the terminals of the nervous system, it is very irritated. That's all it is, fibromyalgia. And I used to have a patient, her nails were always done. Her hair was always done. She was always dolled up every time that she would come to the practice. And she was suffering from fibromyalgia. And I asked her one day, did you get pain when you go and get your nails and your hair done? And she paused and then she told me, no, I don't feel sick that day. Her mind was very distracted. She just put the guard down because she was enjoying the time getting her nails and her hair done. So that tells you that the nervous system has one of the biggest roles in our lives, in our health.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about stress then, because as it relates to the nervous system, that can lead to so many messages that the body is signaling and giving us through symptoms, right? And you specialize in stress pattern analysis. So I wanted to ask, what are stress patterns and how do they shape the way we get sick, stay stuck, or try to heal?
Chronic stress doesn't remain physical. It becomes psychological, physiological. the more prolonged and unresolved it gets, the more consequences it's going to give to our body, the more problems that we're going to have. Symptoms are not failures. When we have a lot of stress, the symptoms will show up because the body is speaking, is screaming. So symptoms are not failures of the body. They are adaptive signals indicating, that something is wrong with that body. And it is dysregulation on the body.
Yeah. So dysregulation, that's a big word. And I think most people can feel it, but they've maybe never known what it is or what it actually means. And if you are dysregulated, you could be having panic attacks. You could be stressed out beyond, what your body can handle, or you could just feel off. How does stress management and dysregulation intersect? Or is dysregulation a direct result of poor stress management?
We're going back to the same root of the problem by listening to them.
Yeah.
The patient will come and tell me exactly what's happening, and I have to put all the pieces together and give the protocol to that patient to regulate his body again. And then healing will start when we regulate that nervous system.
Yes. And I love that the nervous system is part of your protocol, because I don't think I've ever been asked about childhood trauma or my nervous system or my emotional state when I go into a doctor's office. It's, what are your symptoms? And then it's a piece of paper that has something to treat the symptoms. And like you said, if you continue to silence the symptoms, the body's going to stop whispering and start screaming.
Start screaming, now with the chronic illness.
Yeah.
And that is, we practice preventive medicine. That is, this type of medicine, it should be along with the other medicine. Why? Because we can work together. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so let's talk about nutrition and how that plays a role in all of this. If someone comes in to see you and they feel like they've tried everything, the diets, the detoxes, all the medications, and they're still unwell, still inflamed, and still exhausted, where do you start with nutrition?
Ortho-molecular nutrition is one of the things that I practice in my office, and it's the science, to restoring health by providing the body with the right molecules. We are what we eat. And this is the second brain of the body. So when this is dysregulated by nutrition, of course, we're going to have another symptoms. And when nutrition is balanced, the healing is started to be in place. So now we're talking about the root of the problem, the nervous system, and now we're going to nutrition. True healing happens at the cellular level. And ortho-molecular nutrition, that's what it does. Go to the cellular level.
So speaking of ortho-molecular nutrition, right? So if someone's nervous system is dysregulated, if they are emotionally, let's say, dysregulated as well, they have a trauma history and they haven't been listening to their body, and on top of that, their diet is poor, I feel like they are just a walking subscription to prescriptions.
And unfortunately, that's the way to say it. Yes. They're just prescriptions, for one doctor to another doctor. And sometimes patients will not finding the solution in one doctor, they will jump to another doctor who is going to add another medication and the top of the one that it was already by the previous doctor. The healing happens at the cellular level. And when cells are properly nourished, the system is back to regulate and decreases the body, inflammation. And that's another problem that we have now. We have a lot of inflammation in the body because the nervous system is involved. Yeah. And when we study, nourishment at the cellular level, now we're going to start to going to the road of healing.
So how do you nourish cells? Because I don't think most people sit down to eat and say, okay, like, I hope this broccoli makes it to my mitochondria or, you know what I mean? What do you provide that allows for cell health and nutrition?
I do go, with the bioenergetic medicine that we use in here. And then the bioenergetic medicine that I have, the BioScan, it'll go to the cellular level and what the body is lacking. And then we made the protocol for each patient. And that is why, my office, my practice is individual. I don't go with the whole number. Each patient has their own protocol.
Mm. Okay, so something you mentioned is the BioScan, and that's one of the tools that you use. So
Yes.
to jump a little bit deeper into that for people who may have never heard of that, can you walk us through what bioenergetic wellness is? Did I say it right? Bioenergetic wellness is.
Yes.
How it works and what kind of information it can provide that traditional labs miss.
Absolutely. The BioScan, I have my notes to be,
Sure.
precise. I'm just going to read my notes, because this is a new device here in the States. It's been in Europe for 32 years, but many of my clients, they have never heard about the BioScan. The BioScan is a non-invasive bioenergetic assessment that it looks deep on the body, how it works and functions. With the traditional lab test, capture is just a snapshot that they capture in the body, to the blood chemistry. BioScan evaluates patterns of stress, imbalance, and adaptation across the whole body. So imagine in just 9 minutes to get all the answers that sometimes, even lab work will miss it because it's just a snapshot for the whatever particulars, we have in the blood and whatever, because here's the thing, the doctor will just order the CBC, which is a specific test. With this test, we will see everything, the subtle energetic response, and compares the thousands of biological signatures, helping to reveal the early dysfunction. And this BioScan will even tell you things that before they become a symptom, because it goes to the cellular level. It's very precise medicine that I'm using in my office.
So something you said, it's been in Europe for 32 years, right? Is there a reason why it's been there for so long and maybe not here?
Because the system is broken in here.
Mm. That makes sense.
Because the BioScan will give me the exact protocol. The BioScan will connect all the dots for the to have a better health. It will just tell me, even the emotional stress, which is the one that is causing a lot of problems, which is the one who just irritate the nervous system, which is the one who give you inflammation on the body. And the BioScan will let me know everything to the single detail. Think about the BioScan as a translator for your body's symptoms.
Wow. So it's like your body speaks a language, and if you have never been paying attention to it or you don't know that language, you need an interpreter. And the BioScan can translate the language, right? And it takes 9 minutes?
9 minutes to read all the body. Let me just explain that a little bit more about the let's say, for example, somebody has a problem, with the digestive system. I will give the protocol, the individualized protocol. I use just tinctures and homeopathic medication. And when the patients come back, when that tincture is being consumed to the whole, the patient will come back and we will analyze just the digestive system. So we will pinpoint every single problem that in the first reading was read by the device. It's very specific. It has 85,000 uses.
Wow, that's incredible. And so something you mentioned, you said that it can, I guess, do a better job than blood work. And for me, I know that blood work is literally a snapshot of a moment in time because you have to be fasting. And if you were to go and get blood work done at 8 a.m. and then at 12 p.m. and then at 4 p.m. and then at 8 p.m., they may all be different.
Absolutely.
And so I remember the first time I realized that, I said, okay, then you need to get blood work done multiple times a day, maybe for a week straight, in order to have a baseline of what's actually going on. Because if you take just a snapshot while you're fasting, that's not a true indicator of what's going on in the body.
Absolutely not. And I love you mentioned that, because let's say I have to take a blood work tomorrow, on Monday, but on Sunday night, I am just craving for my Chinese food, which is not the best recommended one, but my body is craving for that. The next morning, that test would just give me completely false statement.
Yeah.
And now my medication is going to be based on that test that has nothing to do with it. So it's just a snapshot. If I am nervous, if I irritated, or if I am having my period, that blood work is going to show something different. And like you say, like different time a day, different readings.
So how is the BioScan different? How does it capture everything and eliminate, like, what snapshots and blood work could capture?
Because it's a translate for your body. It just tells you everything. And it goes also to the stress level. Now, remember that stress is one of the biggest killers on this time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything around the environment, the economy. We don't want to get deeper into that, but I mean, it's something that is affecting a lot of families. And more so the male, who is the alpha on the family. Males now are suffering a lot from the nervous system, but they're not speaking out, which is another problem that now we created with males.
Yeah, it's true.
In BioScan, we read just the early dysfunction of the body before they became a symptom. I love my device because it's just telling me so much about my patients, and so much, the responses that I have from them, and to see how they improve their health. And when they come and sit down, they get so surprised to see, like, oh, I know that, but I haven't heard, from somebody else. Or they think, that they just like loosened their mind just by telling about many symptoms that that nobody has to be able to listen out there.
Mm. I would think that if somebody has been going to traditional medicine and seeing traditional doctors and been part of the system for a really long time and haven't gotten the help that they truly need, and then the moment that they maybe come and see you and they get a scan done with the BioScan, there's got to be some emotional response, where people maybe go from "what's wrong with me" to "wow, that finally makes sense." Do you see that a lot?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see that every time, that I run the scan. The feelings that they have, the calms that they finally feel, just to know, like, my body is now, everything is cleared. Now I have the answer for all the questions that I probably was having, doctor after doctor. And is they get very emotional, I can say it, which is a very good reaction for me as a doctor, to see how they feel like, now I can breathe. Now I know, have the answers. And I always tell them it's not about the symptoms, it's about the recognition of now we can, find the right protocol for you. And I'm going to give you your health back. My daughter one time asked me, what are you going to do, mom, when the patient gets healed? I said, they're always going to have to come back, because it's a maintenance, because it's also the work out there that I am going to be helping them. And that's my goal, to help out there, to see the healing, the satisfaction that I feel when they come and sit at my office and say, I finally have answers. I can finally see what was happening with me.
I think just hearing that, that has to be so rewarding for not only you, but also the person who's been searching and searching and searching. Do you have any experiences of people who have been trying to find answers for decades or maybe their entire life that they finally found them and they shared that with you?
Yes. And it's on my page for the reviews, somebody was really nice to, and I say nice, because not everybody like to talk about the problems, but he was willing to share the information. And he's been looking for answers for almost 30 years. And in 6 months of treatment and protocols with the BioScan and the remedies, and to listen to him, I give it a session for 90 minutes every time. 90 minutes for my patients it is a must, because I need to hear everything that they have to say. They will cry. They will feel emotional. And my patient wrote me a review stating that for the first time, he was able to sit down with his family and share Thanksgiving. After looking, at doctors after doctors, being in the hospital, being in Washington, reading books, and spending most of the time seeing doctors, he finally was here, and then he finally see his body is healing. Even his
Won-
wife wrote me a beautiful message telling me that she got her husband back.
Oh, that's incredible. That's priceless for you, I'm sure.
That is absolutely priceless. That is absolutely priceless, because like I say, I see every single of my patients, I see part of the suffering of my child.
Yeah, yeah. So it's twofold for
Yeah.
sure.
And for many patients, is they feel the moment of shame, and why that I was just hiding all these symptoms that now is just giving me all these health problems. And I always tell them, it's not that you have to be something that you have to be ashamed. It's just something that you have to feel, that now is we finally finding the real answers.
Mhm. I love that. Okay, so for people who were raised, let's say, in high performance environments or high shame, or who learned to override their body, like, for example, the illustration you gave of the girl who was silenced in church, and then at 35 she developed thyroid cancer. Um, for someone who's experiencing that, what's the first step in coming back to themselves?
My my approach in that office, is just to show them the real medicine, the real patterns of how they can be back into life. How can they be back into health? Because health is well, definitely. When you're sick, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to just not even eat. And whatever happens, either if it's a trauma or it's something that they just been silenced for such a long time, they're not a diagnosis. They were just misleaded. They were just silenced for the longest. And here I am to help, to open those doors to a new life of health days.
That's beautiful.
Healthy days is the most beautiful things. It's the most beautiful gift that you can give. And the time to listen someone is the most beautiful gift that you can give. And that's one of the gifts that I always give to my patients. Just sit down with a cup of tea and we're going to talk. I am not a doctor. I am the healer. I am here to help you. I am here to guide you to a new patterns of a healthy life.
Hmm. I think just hearing that at minimum you spend 90 minutes with your patients, that is unheard of.
It gets emotional. They even get to talk about things that sometimes they just been hiding. And then
Yeah.
they find this little space of my office, the relief, the therapy, the health, the wellness. I try to give, the most luxury treatment for my patients, because it's a luxury to have my patients in here. I really like what I practice. I really have a passion for my wellness.
That's great. All right, so let me make this personal for the people who have been searching for answers. Let's say someone is scrolling on their phone at 3 a.m., right? They're
Mm-hmm.
tired, they're sick, they're alone, maybe even they feel hopeless. They see your face and they hear your voice, and for just a moment, they hear something they've never heard before. What do you want that person who thinks healing isn't possible to hear? And what do you want them to know about what you do?
Or wake up 3 a.m. in the morning. That must be really, painful, because only people who has a lot of pain and trauma and everything else out there can be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I will tell you, that nothing is wrong with you. Healing is possible. And it's just everything else that is being felt. And it's not the patient. It's just everything else around it. And I would tell you, that your body hasn't been carrying so much that it gets so heavy. And now is the time to release it. This is the picture that I make very, very clear to my patients. And when I say that the things that you've been carrying, you have to let it go, because it's like a bag of garbage that you're carrying in every day. You go to work, you put the bag next to you. You go to sleep, the bag is next to you. You wake up and then you put it right on your back. Feelings, symptoms, trauma, everything that you've been silenced, you're carrying in every day. Here we are together to just let it go. Just uncomplicate life, and then we can do this together. Healing is possible. Your body is going to get to the stage yet that you can heal properly.
It's a beautiful invitation. And I hope that anyone who needed that hears it and they can connect with you. So when it's all said and done, because of everything you've been through, because of what you do, the way you heal, and with all that you're doing to help people, what is it that you want people to know most, and what would you want to be remembered for?
My legacy will be that I have helped bridge the gap between science, energy, and the wisdom of the body. That I wanted to show people that healing happens at the intersection of biology and the nervous system, that I'm here to help. When I'm telling you that when my patients cross that door, it is me to get the satisfaction to help and when I see that they get healed, and that's what I wanted to be remembered. My legacy is to be recognized as the healer more than a doctor.
That's beautiful. I think that just from the people you've helped already, you've achieved that. So thank you for that.
To my patient saying that he was going to spend Thanksgiving, and for him to come and tell me, guess what, doctor? I put my Christmas tree up. That was it. That was the moment of satisfaction. And you get healed by your patients too. You get healed by your patients. You get the therapy that you need, and when you get the healing from your patients, I mean, I'm helping them, but they're also helping me to be more empathic, to be more sympathetic, with the feelings. When I hear that the system, is just obligating all the doctors to just be a number for the patients, it really concerns me to see that it's not the real help out there. And I wanted to be there to help all my patients to be the healer for them.
That's beautiful. All right, last question for you.
Sure.
If you could use your platform to educate anyone who might be struggling with their mental, emotional, or physical health and might be uncertain of how or where to start, what would you say?
Start by listening. Pay attention to what your body is asking for. By rest, nourishing, support. Everything that your body is trying to tell you, listen to your body. Healing is not linear. It is not about doing more. It is about meeting yourself where you are with compassion. Whatever you are, it's just compassion. When we show compassion, everything else can just flow easily. If my patient comes and wants to cry or wants to just let your feelings out, I will be there. And that, believe it or not, starts to heal. When you listen, you heal. When you address, the whole person, the clarity begins, replace confusion. You just need to be in the safe starting point. And then from there, healings unfold smoothly.
Thank you for that. To hear you say it with such passion and conviction it's believable. And I think a lot of people are at the point where maybe they have lost hope and lost faith because they've been trying for so long to heal on so many levels. And there are many people out there who are inviting them to come sit with them and tell them their stories. And I'll sit with you for 90 minutes and listen to you. You can cry. You can tell me all the things. And, we have a machine that in 9 minutes can tell us everything that your body is trying to say. That's different.
It is. It is. Absolutely, it is, and like I say, my patients are a luxury on my office. And that's what I
Mm,
wanted to give them, the best service, the best experience that they can have. And at the end, they can see delight. They can see healing. They can feel okay. They can enjoy time with the family.
wow. Yeah, I think that's something everybody wants. Everybody. So, Dr. Frias, thank you so much for this.
It's my
I've
pleasure.
enjoyed this. I love to be able to provide gifts, and this is a gift because you are a healer and people need you. And so to be able to share you with my audience and for people to be able to connect with you and get true healing, it means a lot to me as well.
And I like that you call me a healer. I love it. I like to be recognized like that as a healer.
If people want to find you online or on social media, where can they find you?
Farias Wellness, LLC. And then also Farias Wellness on Instagram. I also share, a few videos on TikTok, which is not my platform of preference.
Okay. Great. Well, I'll put all that in the show notes as well. But again, I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank you for who you are, for what you do, and for how you do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, for putting my word out there. And thank you for all that you do, Jalen. Thank you. It is really meaningful.